The Caribbean Sea was still draped in pre-dawn haze when the tension began to crackle over the radar screens of the United States ships George Washington. At 6:03 a.m., 3 Venezuelan patrol vessels surged across the turquoise expanse at 28 knots, fast, deliberate, and directly toward one of the most powerful naval formations on the planet. This wasn't a training run, it wasn't shadowing. It was a line drawn on the sea. Below deck, alarms split the quiet with a shriek. "Collision alert!" echoed across the carrier's massive flight deck as sailors froze mid-motion. The radar officer's voice broke the static. "3 fast contacts bearing 217, range 12 nautical miles. Closing." The red, blue, and yellow of Venezuela's flags snapped clear through the magnified optics. The message was unmistakable. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a challenge. A billion-dollar game of chicken. The first to react was the United States ship's Gravely, a guided missile destroyer known for its speed and aggression. Its turbines screamed to life, the ship veering starboard, carving a frothing white wake through the carrier group's path. Communications channels flooded with clipped surgical exchanges. Contacts closing at 28 knots. Recommend intercept posture. The George Washington held her course. No hesitation, no deviation. On the deck, the atmosphere shifted from routine to combat readiness. Sailors sprinted to secure aircraft. Chains clattered as the MH-60R Seahawk helicopter, call sign Razor 21, was prepped for launch. Every motion was muscle memory, refined through endless drills but now pulsing with real-world adrenaline. Over the carrier's intercom came a calm but icy order. "They're trying to block us." The Navy's unspoken rule in such moments, deterrence through presence, was now the only thing preventing chaos. With over $13 billion worth of warships sailing in formation, a single misjudged move could ignite an international flashpoint. Show of posture. The Gravely surged ahead like a steel spear, positioning itself between the carrier and the approaching Venezuelans. In the Combat Information Center, the Surface Watch officer's tone was razor-sharp. "Contacts inside 10 nautical miles. Bearing steady, speed constant." The destroyer's captain didn't flinch. "Visible posture. No targeting. Let them see us." The Gravely's mark. 45 5-inch gun turret turned deliberately 10 degrees starboard, not aiming, just showing teeth. No radar locks, no aggression, just the visual language of deterrence that sailors around the world recognize instantly. Above, the Seahawk's rotors unfurled and bit into the air. Razor 21, cleared for launch. Eyes on, weapons cold. Within moments, the helicopter lifted off, climbing into the pale dawn, its sensors sweeping the ocean ahead. From 500 feet, the scene came into full view. 3 Venezuelan Gavian-class patrol craft slicing across the waves in a shallow V formation, blocking the carrier group's lane like a wall of steel. Unidentified Venezuelan naval vessels. Alter course immediately. The Gravely's communications officer keyed the open channel. Unidentified Venezuelan naval vessels. This is United States warship operating in international waters. You are crossing a restricted formation. Alter course immediately. Static. No reply. Below deck, engineers pushed turbine power to maximum. CIWS mounts, the Phalanx Sea-Whiz systems, spun up to standby, barrels humming with the deadly purr of readiness. Nobody panicked. Nobody joked. The silence was heavier than any explosion. Through binoculars, the Venezuelan ships grew sharper, sleek, fast, and unyielding. The distance closed to 8.6 nautical miles. The carrier held steady, its commander fully aware that any turn, any reduction in speed, would be interpreted as a concession. On the flight deck, the Seahawk lifted higher, its FLIR camera transmitting crystal-clear infrared imagery. 3 small gray hulls, diesel exhaust pluming into the dawn, Venezuelan flags rippling defiantly. "They're in blockade posture," came the pilot's report. "Recommend visual intercept only." The U.S. destroyer complied, maintaining a deliberate, unarmed stance. Every frame of video streamed to command screens. Not aggression, just evidence. When silence becomes strategy. By 6:12 a.m., the standoff had compressed into just 4 nautical miles of ocean. The Venezuelan craft held their line, and the gravelly pressed forward. On board the U.S. ship, the bridge loudspeaker cracked to life. "Stand by for radio call." The voice that followed was calm and precise. "Venezuelan naval vessels, this is United States warship. You are approaching a restricted formation. Alter course immediately for a long second." Nothing. Then a reply came in clipped English, thick with accent and warning. "You are entering our security zone. Reduce speed and change heading now." Every sailor in the Combat Information Center could feel the static hum in the air. "Contacts holding steady at 27 knots, the radar officer called out. "Distance 3.8 nautical miles. "Maintain course," the captain said evenly. "Visible posture only." Above, Razor 21 banked wide. Through its infrared feed, missile pod outlines became visible on the Venezuelan decks. Uncovered, armed, but not aimed. The pilot's voice tightened. "Visual on weapons pods, no radar locks detected. Copy, hold orbit. They're staging a blockade." On the George Washington's flag bridge, the strike group commander folded his arms, eyes fixed on the tactical display. A blue spear tip surrounded by 3 red blips. "This isn't an escort maneuver," he murmured. "They're staging a blockade." The Venezuelans transmitted again, this time in Spanish. "Zona de seguridad bolivariana. Cambia su rumbo. Bolivarian security zone. Change course." The American response came instantly. Negative. Operating lawfully in international waters under UNCLOS, maintain safe separation. At 3.4 nautical miles, the geometry turned personal. The Venezuelans shifted formation, wakes running nearly parallel to the U.S. ships. Inside the Gravely, sensors crackled with surface radar pings. Venezuelan search sweeps, not weapons locks, but close enough to rattle the nerves. The destroyer's phalanx turret rotated again, just a few degrees, enough for sunlight to glint off its barrels. A wordless signal. "We see you." For half a minute, the entire sea seemed to hold its breath. One wrong order, one panicked movement, and it would all explode. "They're not backing off," someone whispered. "And neither are we," the captain replied. Caracas blinks. Then, slowly, imperceptibly, the tension began to ebb. The Venezuelan ships throttled down, from 28 knots to 20. The V formation loosened. "Contacts reducing speed," reported the bridge. "Formation dispersing slightly." The destroyer held steady. No cheers, no relief, just professionalism. From the air, Razor 21 confirmed what everyone hoped. "Visual on course change. They're pulling away on the carrier's bridge," the commander spoke softly. "Keep it that way." "We don't reward bluffs." By 6:23 a.m., radar screens showed the Venezuelan vessels turning east-southeast, retreating toward their coastline. Range 6 nautical miles and widening. No shots fired, no collisions. But the outcome was as clear as the morning light now breaking over the Caribbean. Caracas had blinked first, the quiet after the storm. At 6:30 a.m., the Seahawk touched back down on the George Washington's deck, rotors folding with the hiss of cooling turbines. Sailors resumed their routines. The sky was golden, the sea calm, but every man and woman aboard knew they'd just stared down a potential crisis. The incident would be logged like any other operational event. Timestamps, radar sweeps, communications transcripts, a cold line in a report. But for the people who'd lived those 20 minutes, the memory burned hotter than any tracer round. In the official sense, it wasn't a battle, yet it was as real as combat gets without a shot fired. It was a contest of willpower, discipline against provocation, presence against pressure. The world didn't hear about it immediately. There were no headlines, no dramatic footage. But in the language of navies, what happened that morning said everything. Freedom of navigation doesn't yield to politics. For Venezuela, it was theater. a projection of defiance meant for domestic eyes. For Washington, it was Tuesday. Epilogue: the sea returns to silence. By 6:45 a.m., the ocean looked untouched again. The wake lines smoothed out, the air smelled of salt and jet fuel, and sailors drank their coffee with quiet satisfaction. Another day logged, another message sent. Out there, beneath the Caribbean sun, the water remembers. For one tense morning, it mirrored the edge between diplomacy and disaster, and the men and women who held their course proved that sometimes the greatest weapon in war is the nerve not to fight. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more true encounters from the world's oceans, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Until next time, fair winds and following seas. And remember, coffee always tastes better when you didn't have to dodge a patrol boat before sunrise.